Think about how much of our job at YC has been decoding VC speak into English.
Yes.
Any words that aren't yes is a no, but like with all this like extra accoutrements on the edges. If you get an email and it's like lots of words in it, that's a no.
Yes. Hello, this is Dalton plus Michael, and today we're going to talk about Standard Capital, the new fund by Dalton and PB. As a kind of 30-second preview, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you decided to start this fund and why is it different?
I think to start with, as you know, I give a lot of advice over the years as a YC partner on pivots.
Yes.
And one of the things I try to do when giving someone advice about a pivot is I try to imagine of all ideas this person can work in the world, where do they have the most unfair advantages? Where do they have the best network? Like I believe that every person has like a perfect idea for them, and that my job is to try to pull out of any founder what their ideal idea is.
I have stolen that line. Maybe 100 times.
Yeah.
maybe 100 times. It's helpful, especially in the sea of what I could do anything.
Yeah. There's too many choices.
Too many choices.
But if you think about it this way, everyone has one really good idea. And so,
by the way, I love that too, because it's kind of like in a really hard competition, you want to play games you're good at.
yes.
And like the world is a really hard competition. It's like,
Yeah.
Okay.
And so this is an idea that I crafted very specifically for this founding team, which is PB, myself, and Brian Berg.
Yes.
And kind of the idea is to take a lot of what makes YC work at the seed stage and apply it to the Series A. The way I like to explain this is 20 years ago, I raised a seed round.
Yep.
And when I raised a seed round, I had to get a lead investor.
Yep.
I had to get a priced round term sheet.
Yep.
I had to sell 25% of my company.
Yep.
I had to give up a board seat, and it took 7 months.
For a seed round.
For a seed round. And Michael, let me be honest, it was a miracle. Like I'm so thankful. No, I mean, I really mean this.
Yeah.
Like when I think back, I'm like, how did I get that done? Like, I think I was just lucky, or it was so hard.
Yes. When you were doing it coming out of the 01 craziness. Yeah.
It was really hard.
Yeah.
And it was basically a miracle that I got it done.
Yep.
And so when you compare that to today, where there's YC, the YC invented the safe.
Yes.
There's this really vibrant ecosystem of angel investors that are used to taking risks on younger founders, on technical founders.
Yes.
Like it's like totally different. And so a lot of my experience of raising a seed round, not applicable, not relevant in any way to founders. Conversely, I also raised a Series A 20 years ago, and it was like I had to get warm intros to people. I put them in my CRM. I had to go on coffee dates to get to know people and go through this complicated process.
Love those coffee dates.
I love, you know me, I love it.
Coffee dates with random investors.
Oh, yeah, that's like, love that stuff.
Fill my calendar.
and then the crazy thing about the process that I remember, and I'm sure this still stings you, is where you would spend all this time with people over weeks or months, and they would like want to go out to dinner and be your best friend and talk about how great you were.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, we're definitely coming in. And then they would like pass at the very end.
Often silently.
They would ghost you.
Yes.
Or they would be like, oh, this is just a perfunctory, like we're definitely in. And then you would get like the very weird pass at the end after literally months of time and effort.
Yes.
And it was crushing. And it was a huge time waste. And I felt horrible because I wasn't working on my startup when I was doing these fundraisers. I was instead fundraising.
Well, and to that point, I was told like this was an important part of being a founder, but I'd always found it a little confusing.
Well, you weren't adding any value.
My company was not getting
value.
better.
Yeah, the company was getting worse.
It's like, here's a side quest. And then you need money. But like, I feel like that was a bit of a lie. Like, oh, this side quest is going to help you with your company. It's like, no, it's going to get me money.
This is part of why I liked YC is PG was the only person who was honest about this in his blog posts.
Yes.
Which is like, fundraising is a waste of time. Don't do it.
Yes.
Like to do it in as short of amount of time as possible.
Yes.
This is like core in the YC Bible.
Yes.
Is this stuff.
Yes.
Anyway, so to complete the thought, Michael, that was all what I remember. Guess what? It's the same now. Like all of the advice, all of my experience as a founder raising an A is precisely what I still hear as a YC group partner. on what it's like to raise an A, which is like,
Yes.
oh, you get this inbound from people and they act like they're really interested, but then you get into these really long, complicated processes.
Yes.
And most of the time, it's a lot of very complicated, flowery words, which mean no.
Yes. Yes.
Think about how much of our job at YC has been decoding VC speak into English.
Yes.
And again, I'll tell
English
the audience.
is always yes and no.
Yes, that's to tell the audience. If it's not any words that aren't yes, is a no, but like with all this like extra accoutrements on the edges, okay? Like if there's lots of words, if you get an email and it's like lots of words in it, that's a no.
Yes. It's so funny because it's like a plate full of garnishes.
Yes.
And just like
There's just a no in the middle of it.
No
There's just a no in the plate.
But they serve me this. Why would they spend so much time?
They must be really interested. Like, no, I don't. That's just a no. That's just a regular no.
So the process is still awkwardly / maybe needlessly painful.
Hey, look, if we want to humanize the investors on the other side of the table, this is just how it's always been done. So I would argue it's
sure. I don't think they're evil.
Yeah. But
That's
I'm
why I use
saying
the word awkward.
It's the process that has been the process since the 1980s. And so when, Steve Jobs was raising money for Apple Computer, this is the same process that he used in the 1980s.
Well, let's absolve them. VCs have to go to other investors to raise money.
Precisely.
And so needless to say, it's a little bit easier, especially if you don't have a stellar track record, to just say I'm doing it like almost everyone else
why would you
is.
want to do something different? That's like the worst thing you could do.
Yeah. Especially in an asset class that seems like it's working and blah, blah,
Right?
blah. Yeah.
And so that's the context, which is, look, we saw what made YC work. PB was at the second demo day as an angel investor.
We should probably introduce PB a little bit more.
You should say who PB is.
Yeah. So PB, Paul Buchheit, I often tell founders that Paul Buchheit gave both of my startups the single most important pieces of advice, which is crazy because it was like, it was like infinite value creating the first time. And then like, I still remember the second time being like, wait, I think he might have just
did it again.
What is happening?
He just drops truth bombs on you, Michael. Just dropping a truth bomb.
Bang. So Paul was a very early employee of Google.
23. He was number 23.
23. He was an angel investor in a lot of companies, Twitch and SocialCam included. I always respected his style. He's not going to hold your hand and give you like 8 hugs and be like, oh, how do you feel today about the experience of a startup? He's not going to do that.
No.
But like when you give him a problem, there's like an 85% chance he will give you a better solution than you're going to come up with. And like, he's been doing it for like 20 years.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things when you meet someone that's really smart, you can just tell that they're just operating with more horsepower.
Yes.
Like whatever's going on.
Yes.
He's got a lot of horsepower up there. And so if you can kind of direct him the right way,
you're gonna get a nugget. And like, it turns out companies don't need like 100 nuggets.
No.
So to make it explicit, right? So one, for Twitch, like PB inspired us to build our own video server built on top of FFmpeg, which meant that we were running our own video streaming software, which meant that our structural costs for streaming live video were 10x lower than our competitors. Back then, this is in the days before video ads, so it was very hard to run a video company. And that was the difference. Like if you're watching live video on Twitch, like PB was the one who told Kyle, go do that. Yes, let's not get a vendor for that. And then second, for SocialCam, we had this incredible run where we got about 30 million downloads in 3 months. And PB was basically the one who told us how to kind of measure our viral loops so we could optimize it. And the second time I was Wowzer, like he said something and we were like, no, that's wrong, PB. And then he's like, have you tried it? And then I was like, damn it, PB. Like that's when it clicked. I was like, he
got you.
It's like we haven't tried it because we're dumb. And then we tried it and it worked. I don't want to go into the details, but it was always very interesting because like I would always think about the what I would call the PB-PG continuum. Like, I think founders, we tell them not to shop for advice, but I think they always shop for advice. You go to different people for different things. I always felt like you go to PB to feel better about your startup.
Oh, PG.
PG, sorry. Yeah, to feel better about it. Like, you think it's this, but it could be this, right?
Yeah.
And you'd be like, yeah, it could be. Fuck yeah.
Thanks, PG. I'm great.
PG thinks can be this. Like, maybe it can be, right? Amazing, right? PB would not give you any of those vibes. Like, he'd be real with you. It's like, I remember with Social Cam, he was like, I will never use your product. That was the first thing he said. I would never use your product, and I would never tell my friends to use your product. And then he gave us the thing that made the thing worth actual money. And so PB was always like, give him your hardest problem.
Yeah.
And so the fact that you're getting to work with him, and I would say, honestly, the fact that his talents are going to be used on companies that are a little further along, when, your hardest problem is not like, oh, how do I get my first user? Or like, what did this investor say? And like, that's pretty powerful. And he was also known as somewhat of a savant in YC interviews too, which is
a great interview.
Kind of most of us who've been around for a while learned like our tricks. I remember being in the interview room with PB and like, I just was like, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, just let him cook. Let him cook.
I'm just gonna watch this. I feel out of my depth.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's incredible. And then you've got your old co-founder joining as well.
Brian was, the CTO of iMeme, and he was the CTO of my second company, Mix Me Labs. So we ran a company together for over a decade.
Yes.
And, when I started at YC, I introduced him to Patrick Collison.
Okay.
He became employee 70 at Stripe. And
okay, that's pretty good.
He's been an engineer there the whole time, writing code. He was reporting to the CTO of Stripe.
But wait, Dalton, you're starting a VC fund. Why would you need why? We all know that you need to get Microsoft 365,
Microsoft Teams. I've been having to use a lot of Microsoft Teams recently, man. It's not good.
It's one package. Why do you need a software developer?
Well, I mean, look, we saw what made YC great, which is at its core is it was a software company created by a person that loved software and didn't love people. Just kidding. Didn't love hiring a bunch of people is a nicer way to say it.
Yes.
Didn't love like a whole bunch of human process.
Especially for things that software was good at.
Yeah. So he would, every time there was a problem at YC, PG would build software for it. And a lot of the software that we worked on for all these years can all be traced back to software that PG wrote.
Yes.
And so I think we're heavily inspired of having software at the very center of things. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's such an interesting point. Like, only in hindsight do I really appreciate how different it was at YC and how often we asked, how can software help us? Mm-hmm. And like, coming out of a startup, that felt like a very natural question. But talking to other investors, I've realized that is one of the most unnatural questions. Like, how can software help us? Well, we need to hire these young people so they can scout investors. We need lawyers. We need
a lot of investors build side projects and they're vibe coding. I think there's a lot of vibe coding going on now.
Yeah.
But its core, if what you're doing is you have an email inbox that comes with warm intros and it's sending you pitch decks, that's not super software centric. Like people have been trying to send me pitch decks and I'm like, no, thank you. Because I'm still trained to read YC applications, right? Like we're all trained to see the information in a very specific format.
Yes.
And we're very good at it because it's all in the same format.
Yes.
When I have to parse information of a pitch deck, it's really hard.
I think one of the funny things is like y'all are unpacking so many things where I feel like this awkward process has been created around Series A is it's not obvious it makes the Series A investors' lives easier either.
Well, I think so much of the classical Series A investor is relationship-based and reputation-based, where a lot of what they do is they have people they trust, and they trust the people that they trust to tell them who to give money to. And that's kind of the business. Again, that's not a great, but that's, at the end of the day, that's the business.
It's just sad. Like when I hear that, it's sad because it's like, for better or for worse, especially in a lot of these kind of shotgun processes, like these people don't know each other that well.
No, and then it's no big deal. They're just gonna be on your board and they can fire you, right? No big deal. Oh, you're just meeting a stranger and maybe they invest and then they fire you someday. Oh yeah, I'm being facetious again, but look,
it's closer to the truth than not.
We have a lot of secret stories that we can never tell that we learned at YC around bad board members.
Yeah.
And what was that quote? This is not my quote, but I remember a founder being like, look, a board member is either a +1, a 0, or a -1. There's only a handful of plus ones in the whole world. So try to get a 0.
Go for 0.
Try to get a 0 board member. And like, if you can get a 0, then at least you don't have the minus ones. That wasn't a joke either when that founder was telling the story.
It's so hard because I think that like, I don't blame founders for believing that boards can help. What I do wish is that I wish there was a way for a founder to kind of be in one public board meeting.
Yeah. Well, for context, Michael, you're on the board of Reddit.
Yeah, Reddit
and
and
you're
Dropbox.
on the board of
Yeah.
Dropbox. Yeah.
And like, I just wish I could bring them into one meeting and then be like, well, this is
This is
gold.
state of the
right?
art.
Like, this is like, if this is winning, like, what are you going to have?
Yeah.
And if this isn't winning, what are you going to have? But let's be clear, everyone's searching for an oracle. If you present anything in an oracle-like shape, well, the board will make phone calls for you. We'll recruit your executives. And it's just so sad when people realize like there's no oracle. Like you just kind of have to figure shit out.
Yeah. They don't have the answers.
No.
So,
Yeah. The best an oracle could do is probably tell you don't quit.
Yeah, that's true. That is actually the best advice.
Yeah.
Is keep going.
Yeah, keep going. Tomorrow will only be as painful or less painful as today, most of the time.
Yeah, that's actually really good advice, you know.
Okay, so you're starting this new fund.
Yeah, so let me just tell you the actual features. That seems because we're
Nice.
dancing around.
love
Here's the features.
How is it different?
Number one, you're going to apply on our website. We're creating an application process just like we had at YC, which has been the thing I've been working on all these years.
Yes.
And so you won't need a warm intro. It'll just be a website. Anyone in the world can apply.
Put yourself in the mindset. We've seen founders invest easily a month in creating a deck, editing a deck,
That no one
practicing
reads.
a deck.
And the deck is bad. So it's like, hey, I shouldn't say, I'm basically often the first draft of decks we see could use some improvement.
Yes.
Is that a
Really bad.
But and again, it's not for lack of effort. No. Decks are hard.
Decks are hard.
Decks are hard.
And this isn't like the job, which is like making your users better off. Yeah. So how long should it take to file an application?
Hour or two. Yeah. Just like, for a lot of the YC people that get into YC, they spend like an hour on the app, sometimes less. How many founders have you talked to? They're like, I applied the day of the deadline, 15 minutes before the deadline came due, and then we got in.
Especially for YC that's so early stage, right? For some extent, there is a little bit of less is more.
Yeah.
Like there is a little bit of like, if this is early stage and you have a 50-page deck, like what could you...
It's pretty much all downside, man.
Okay, so one,
there'll be an application.
Great.
And so the whole point is to have the time cost to a founder to be minimal.
yes,
So the downside is minimal.
yes,
No one will know you applied.
Yes.
You spend an hour or two filling out the application. And then the upside is great, you get money fast.
yeah,
Okay.
okay,
Here's some of the other features. Number
Yes.
two, the reason it's called standard capital is that we're creating a standard Series A term sheet. YC created the safe, and it's just on our website.
Whoa! So I don't have to spend $250,000 with my lawyers? For
Well,
the
they might still
privilege?
try to bill you. I'm just kidding. But what's cool is you can anyone in the world can go look at the safe document
Yeah,
and know what the terms are before you talk to any investors. Before anyone applies to standard capital, they can just go read our term sheet. They can read our terms.
I love that.
Isn't that cool? And so you'll know exactly what the deal is before you apply, instead of it being this opaque thing where they show you the terms at the very end of the process after you've said yes.
Well, that's the crazy thing. It's like they show you like some terms in the term sheet.
Yeah.
And then, because obviously as a founder, you've had time to go to law school, they show you this like huge document that's full of like things that they've spent a lot of time thinking about.
And you haven't. And you're at the end of the process. So what are you going to do? Tell them no?
Yeah.
Like you have no leverage.
You already signed. It's like, it's awkward.
It's time consuming and stressful and no one benefits, but I guess the lawyers benefit. But other than that, like no one really enjoys that process. So again, it's called standard capital because it's the standard Series A term sheet. The term sheet will be on the website. You can see it before you apply.
Perfect.
The other thing that's super cool
Yes.
is that the standard deal will be for 10% of the company
Yes.
for our lead check.
Yep.
And then the founder, as part of the application, will choose their price of how much money they want to raise from us in exchange for 10%. So picture a text box where you can type in $6 million in exchange for 10% of the company. And that's just part of the application. You're just filling it out. You're like, okay, 6, 7.
How often have we sat down with the founder and they've said, well, I think I need this much money, but should I ask for this much money so that they can do this? And then if I ask for a smaller amount, and then I get multiple people bid, and it's this fucking like
It's used car sales. It's like it's a used car thing.
Yes.
It's like going to the market and bartering at the flea market.
Literally, yeah. I'd argue the flea market's easier. You get the deal done that day.
It's true. It's like such a weird, awkward. Again, I'm gonna use that word awkward. It's a very awkward process to do a negotiation like it's like the olden times.
Yes.
Because founders always ask me, I don't know if they ask you this, but they're like, Dalton, what's the equation to determine our valuation? And I'm like, founder, it's like I'm telling them Santa Claus isn't real. Let me be real with you. There's no equation. Everyone just makes up numbers.
Yep.
And you make up a number and they make up a number and you keep making up numbers until somehow there's an equilibrium and then the deal's done.
Yep.
And they're shocked. Founders are shocked to hear that's actually the science behind this stuff.
Well, isn't it, 25 times forward estimated revenue?
Not an early stage.
No.
When you're a series I,
Whatever, yeah.
You're
maybe. Basically a public company.
Yeah. But no, in the early stage, this stuff is all made up.
So that's, the reason why I think that's interesting as well is it reflects so much what we were telling founders at YC, which is like, you set your own price.
Yeah, so we're designing something that is legible to YC founders. Because at demo day, we tell the founders, set your cap. This is my cap. You tell investors the cap and they're either in or out.
Yes.
So do you see how this is extremely like intuitively, like I'm designing an intuitive process for YC folks.
Yes.
Fill out an application, standard term sheet, name your own price. We're going to have a quality of service where it'll tell you how many days before you get a firm yes or no from us.
That's impossible to do.
I know.
How could you ever, there's vacations, there's the hot deal you have to chase.
Yeah. Because imagine when you were a founder, Michael, imagine if someone could actually promise you by what date that you would know they were confirmatively in or out. Even if they weren't, even if it's a no, what a gift to know where you stand versus just getting stretched out. Oh, I need one more meeting. Oh, I need to schedule the partner meeting. Oh, I need to do this. There's always these extra steps that get added at the very end.
It's just so weird because like, I'm going to say if/when this works and people tell the stories about how, like people are going to be like, this isn't how it was. Dalton, you must be exaggerating. like this is not like how did companies even happen if they had to go through this? And sometimes I think like companies succeed despite this bullshit.
Yes, that's a good way to say it. This has always been a necessary evil.
Yes.
Still is kind of a necessary evil, but there's some hair on the process. And this is what founders like to talk about when they get together. It's like all their horror stories. God knows I have some.
I think it's been so interesting because I think oftentimes I'll talk to a VC and they will say, our process is amazing.
Yep.
And then I will be like, I have talked to founders who've pitched your firm.
Yeah.
There's one firm was like, went to a partner meeting, full partnership meeting, no contact for 2 weeks.
They were thinking about it.
It's like, I know they weren't thinking about it. But it's almost they're blind.
Again, like to lightly defend investors, I think that there's no upside for anyone ever telling you to your face they don't like your process and that they don't appreciate it. And so both sides want to preserve optionality. Because if you're a founder, you're like, I don't like you and I don't like your process and I'm mad at you. What? I would never advise a founder to tell an investor that. It's all downside. And so I genuinely think some of these folks aren't aware of how much psychic damage they inflict on people.
So here's the thing. Let's say I'll give you that. Enough of these people were founders.
Yep.
They know. Those people know in their heart.
I think the game is the game. And again, I'm sure there's people out there that are like, oh, well, the YC process frustrated me. What I would say about YC though, is we always had a date we would tell you on the website when you applied where we would send you a no or a yes.
You know what it reminds me of? This is a government aside. When Obama was running for president in 2008, one of the things that was said was that organizing the campaign was almost a test for how effective he would be as president. And I think that like the VC industry has kind of internalized this idea where it's like how you organize your fundraise and how you do these kind of like mind games is like a test on how good of a founder you're going to be. Yeah. And I think that like, that's maybe the idea I want to attack. Like, I don't actually think that's true. And I think that, and we've spoken about this at YC, like perhaps as the need for capital reduces, as AI becomes more and more powerful, I think that investors are going to have to kind of rethink this math, because like if the need for capital halves and these processes stay this awkward, I'm working with a company that's doing $8 million in revenue and they're profitable, and they're like, maybe we should raise a Series A, maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah.
And
especially if it seems high pain, especially if it seems maybe not likely to succeed or have negative reputational damage. Like if you go and raise and your fundraise fails, the VCs just tell each other. Like they basically just talk all day about who's raising and what's going on.
Yes.
You actually take damage.
You do.
If you try to raise and it doesn't work.
Well, and we have to advise founders. It's like, you got to go away for 6 months.
Yeah, you can't
and do new shit and like.
Yeah.
Let's talk about community. So you invested in the company.
So if you think about why YC really worked, you go look at the first batch that Justin was in.
Yep.
And that Sam Altman was in.
Yep.
And it was just like 6 companies.
Yep.
And with the benefit of hindsight, those were some of the most important people in the world.
Yep.
And those people had a good experience and they told other people about it.
Yep.
And that ultimately the reason someone wants to be a part of YC is to opt into being a part of the community and the other founders. It's not just the advice from the partners. That's only a small part of it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like joining the club.
Yes.
And so the community aspect is the following, and this is, kind of bold.
Yeah.
Number one, we're not going to take a board seat.
Yep.
Founders don't want someone who might fire them. It's weird to be begging for money from someone that might fire you.
Yeah.
Very, very awkward situation again. And you don't really have time to get to know them well.
No.
Certainly not to pressure test your relationship.
No.
And again, there's great board members out there. I'm just saying it's a tricky situation.
Yes.
And instead of just saying, well, we're not going to take board seats, whatever, we're actually going to create these subgroups, kind of like group office hours at YC, where the founders will bring them together once a quarter, so once every 3 months, and they will present their company metrics and their board update type things and their biggest problems to each other. And so it's almost like this group therapy thing. You're very familiar with, at YC, if anyone that's a YC alum will be familiar with group office hours. Yes. Believe it or not, PB invented group office hours. I didn't know that until he told me that.
Yeah.
And the idea is, look, man, let's be real. Who do you respect more? Other people operating companies
in the trenches
that are actually dealing with problems in real time, or people who just kind of repeat stories they hear from other investors or what have you. It's tricky. And the way I think about this, man, is Zuck has infinite resources from Meta. He could get advice from anyone in the world. Think about it. He could call someone and get him on the board of Facebook.
Yep.
Who does he choose to put on his board, and who does he get advice from?
Founders.
Tony from DoorDash.
Yep.
Brian from Airbnb. Yep. Drew from Dropbox. Yep. Are all directors of Facebook. And we know this from behind the scenes. That's actually who Zuck has been consulting with on how to run Facebook, as well as the AI strategy. And who did he bring in to run the whole Facebook AI strategy?
The other founder.
Yeah. and these are all YC people. These are all people that we know.
Yes.
And so I really think that is just such hard proof that ultimately the best advice you're going to get from as a founder is from other founders and from peers that you respect. And so to the extent Standard Capital is about curating this peer group and creating a structured way for these peers to help each other. Yeah. I think it's actually just a better product. If we think of this in terms of a product, I want that, wearing my founder hat, I want to be a part of that thing, and I don't want a board member.
You don't want a recently graduated MBA who's picking up their first couple of companies while their VC firm is testing whether or not they're going to be good or not.
And again, those are very nice people, and I like them, and I would love them to
great people
help in some way. But come on.
As a founder, that's not who you're gunning for.
That's not your dream situation of who you want advice from.
I remember Pedro from Brex came in to talk to the batch, and he said a version of this. He said, I started accelerating so much more quickly when I stopped asking investors to summarize what they saw other great founders do, and I started to just ask those founders
directly,
what do they do? Most people going to YC, they're coming out of college and they have a peer group that's like this, and then you just give them this peer group that's like, yeah, we all want to make the next Google.
Yeah.
That's different. You just up-leveled everyone's ambition. We've talked about this for years. The same thing doesn't quite exist for later stage folks.
Think about it. We're curating the peer group of AI builders that have product market fit. Like, right? Like that's the bar to get in to this is you have to have PMF.
Yeah.
That's like pretty cool. There's not, that's a much that's a much more rare thing. Because think about how many of the really successful folks we know, they don't even have, they have their peer group from the batch, but people are at different levels of success. Okay. Yes. This is like, whoa, these people are all on my level. I think that's pretty powerful. And again, I'm super excited that we get to power this for people.
A lot of times when I have conversations with investors, I think that they overvalue the money they're giving and they overvalue their personal advice. What I like about this is like you're creating a structure where you're almost forced to not overvalue this. Like you're almost forced to create value not in those areas.
Exactly. Yeah, we're happy to give advice, but this the value prop is not we're the best advice givers. Yeah. That's not the value prop at all.
No,
right?
No. And the value prop isn't like, like the company with the biggest check always wins, because it's fucking never true.
The other thing I feel like we learned from YC is PG is deeply anti-zero-sum thinking. Mm-hmm. And so the zero-sum way to think about startups is there's only one good startup that started every year.
Yeah.
And that if you don't fund that one startup, you're bad.
Yes.
And he had real issues of skepticism around Y Combinator when he started it, because they were like, oh, you're just going to fund all the bad startups.
Great model.
This is the worst idea. Like a lot of people were like, you should just give up, man.
You're going to build a baseball team with all the worst baseball players.
Like you're selecting for bad companies. Are you nuts? Okay. Seriously. And again, that really was the public perception around it.
Yes.
And his point, which he's written about a lot, is that there could be more success in the world. Yes. And that there is not a fixed amount of successful startups.
Yes.
And there's not a fixed amount of wealth, and there's not a fixed amount of growth. Yeah. And that in fact, these things feed on each other. And that by funding lots of startups and funding a lot of talent, the net effect would be have more, abundance in the world, more growth in the world, more successful startups. And he was right.
Yes.
Because it's not like if PG wouldn't have funded those early companies, they would have gone on to work without YC.
Many of them wouldn't have been companies.
Twitch,
no,
like none of like
Reddit, money.
Reddit wouldn't exist in Twitch. Like there's not a parallel universe where they didn't do YC and some other investor funded those companies.
Yeah. With this kind of non-zero sum thinking, we need more software companies.
Yes. So my thesis is that there's going to be a lot more big companies than there ever were. Not one or two a year, there's going to be more.
Yes.
My thesis is also, I think that a lot of the VC firms will be fine. Yeah. And that us funding more great founders.
YC didn't kill the rest of the startup ecosystem.
Basically, I think us funding more great founders is going to create more abundance and wealth in the world. Yeah. And this isn't zero-sum thinking. And it's actually disappointing how zero-sum thinking is pervaded
you're so
a lot of this industry.
Especially because like you're not seeing something profound. Like this kind of positive sum thinking is why tech exists.
It's literally why this stuff works. Yes. And so I think it's so awesome to be able to basically get more people funded and to have them have a really fast process. Yeah. And I don't think that necessarily means that there's gonna be negative side effects to other folks. I think it's just gonna be great.
So this thing's kicking off. I think the last thing that I loved when you described this to me is, like any software startup, this is the MVP, but you got to get out there and figure out what needs to be built next. And I think that's kind of the exciting thing is that I remember we always used to say at YC, we want to try to earn our 7% every year. Yeah. And so we were trying to make the product better.
Yeah, and we did.
Every year.
It was a lot better. I mean, I think we could objectively...
Yes. And so I love that you're kind of bringing your stat spirit into this.
Exactly. Because think about it. We're using the AI tools themselves to write the code to power this thing. Yeah. We are intentionally trying to use AI in every decision we make. I don't know. We're like treating ourselves as guinea pigs to kind of create an organization of the future and how we operate and to be self-similar with our own portfolio companies.
It's how you would do this. If you were operating in the new technology paradigm, you liked software and you liked founders.
Which all dovetails back to the original point, which is of all things I could work on, like of the entire universe, what should I be doing to give myself advice, to give myself office hours? This is pretty much it. And and same with PB and same with Brian.
That's on the nose. So as a last thing, how do people find you?
standardcap.com. Probably there'll be a link next to this video when we talk about it. And
there you go.
There's just be an application, and it'll all be documented and super transparent.
Okay. And the first 10 people who apply get $10 million each.
From Michael.
I like what you did there. Dalton, great chat.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Michael.